Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about my picks for this week's upcoming NFL games. First game up, obviously, is the Thursday night game between the Jets and the Colts. I have the Colts at minus 10.5. I really think last week's game for the Jets was an absolute fluke. I think the Jets just kind of stink right now. They have so many holes that they need to fill. And I think that the Colts didn't play their best football, at least Carson Wentz didn't. So I'm expecting Carson Wentz to come out and make some much better decisions because the decisions he made last week were beyond wild at the end of that game. He needs to just, tighten it up. I also think Michael Pittman's looking really good. And I just feel like they're a complete team that's ready to stop being average and start being great, or at least above average. So I feel like that minus 10.5 pick is fairly easy. Next up, I have Browns versus Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals minus 2.5. I'm not going to take last week's game against the Jets into account in my pick here because I just feel like it's a fluke game. Plus, Joe Burrow still looked really good, scored a lot of points. That defense just has to figure its shit out. It just needs to get it together a little bit. Plus, the Browns, the whole Odell Beckham stuff that's going on right now, there seems to be some dissension going on there. At least the media is reporting that. And they're missing a million key players. And we don't know how good Baker Mayfield's going to be if he plays. Chubb will be back, so that'll be interesting. But I think the Bengals offense is good enough to outscore the Browns fairly easily. And I think that they will cover that minus 2.5. They might even cover something crazier, like minus 6.5. Next up, Cowboys versus Broncos. Kind of struggle with this pick a little bit until I remembered Von Miller's gone. I think that the Broncos are kind of in a sell mode and are now going to be trying to tank to try and build up their team a little bit because I don't think that they think that Teddy Bridgewater is their quarterback for the future, even though he's very solid. Plus, Cowboys looked great last week, even without their starting quarterback. Defense is playing much better than it has in the past. Offense, they just have a million options. I don't think Michael Gallup's playing, and Amari Cooper is listed as questionable, so hopefully he plays for the sake of this pick. But right now, I'm taking Cowboys minus 10 versus what I think is probably going to be a tanking Broncos team. Next up is Texans versus Dolphins. Kind of the same thought here as I did for the Browns. I think that there's a lot of issues inside of that Dolphins locker room right now. And the Texans have only played great teams for the past 3 weeks. And the last mediocre team was that they played was the Patriots, and they only lost by 3. Dolphins, I think, I really do think the Texans could honestly win this game, surprisingly. I think there's a lot of questions in Tua's head right now. Is this where I'm going to play next year? Is this because there's all these thoughts about Deshaun Watson and all these rumors that he's going to end up with the Dolphins when all of his shit gets handled, which I'm not touching any of that stuff. I have no clue what's going on there. But yeah, I think the Texans hold it within 6.5 points, so I'm going to take the Texans. Next up, Saints versus Falcons. I gotta tell you, this is my least confident pick I have in here. I picked the Saints minus 6. It really depends on what Saints team shows up. Does Jameis Winston play well? If Jameis isn't playing, does his backup play well? Can Alvin Kamara just take over the field? Or do the Falcons come out and, play some good offense and play moderate defense and hold it? I have a little bit more faith in the Saints than I do the Falcons. I feel like the Falcons are kind of a franchise on the brink of collapse right now, so I'm going to take the Saints because they've got a lot more to play for. They've got playoff hopes. They've got a really solid defense. There's a lot going on there, so I'm just going to stick with the Saints minus 6, but I'm not extremely confident in that pick. Next up is Raiders versus Giants. I'm taking the Raiders minus 3. I feel like this is a fairly easy pick. The Raiders defense, extremely solid, or at least very solid. Raiders offense, Josh Jacobs, Henry Ruggs, blanking on their other receiver. I know they have Darren Waller. I just think that the Raiders are ready to put all that John Gruden bullshit behind them and just play some good football, like they did last week. I feel like this is going to be a good game from them, and I feel like they're kind of like this underdog team, even though people are treating them like an underdog team, even though they've got a lot of really solid pieces and a lot of solid players. Trust me, as a Lions fan, I'd much rather be in their position than mine right now. I'm just thankful the Lions aren't playing this week. Next up, Patriots versus Panthers. Taking the Pats minus 3.5. Mac Jones looking great. Kind of has a little bit of a clutch factor. I think he's just trying to right now be a game manager. You know, he's just making all the small plays, doing all the small things. Their defense looks good. And the Panthers look awful. Like, they just don't look very good at all. I don't know what you have to get Christian McCaffrey back, first of all, but I don't know what you do as for the Panthers, because you're in this weird medium where there's good players there and then just a bunch of problems. So I don't know what they're going to do. I think this line is too small. Pats minus 3.5 is an easy lock for me. Next up, Bills versus Jaguars, and the line is 14.5 here, and I hate my pick because I don't want to take the Jaguars, but 14.5, I don't know. I'm just going to take the Jaguars at plus 14.5. You don't need to hear me talk about Urban and Trevor Lawrence and being 1-7. I'm not saying that they're going to win this game, but 14.5 is a wild line, and it would hurt my soul to watch a game where I need the team I bet on to win by 3 scores. Not even kind of confident in this pick, but I don't know. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is only going to get a little bit better, and that offense will start to at least somewhat work. Their run game will somewhat work. Their defense will probably not work at all. So, I mean, for this to hit, we'll probably need at least 2 touchdowns from the Jaguars, or at least 13 points, so a touchdown, 2 field goals for this to hit. But I don't know. I feel like it's possible. We'll find out. I mean, the Bills just look great right now, so it's a tough team to pick against. But again, 14.5, tough. Next up, Vikings versus Ravens. The line being plus 6 for the Vikings, and that's who I'm gonna take. The Vikings are a team kind of like the Colts, where they have a ton of pieces, great offensive weapons. Other than Kirk, I think Kirk Cousins is a medium offensive weapon. But I have a hard time taking the Ravens at minus 6 purely because I think that some games they show up and really crush it, and then the games like against my Lions team, their offense can't do anything. So if the Vikings defense can play decently well, stop the run, and force Lamar Jackson to have to make those deep passes that he sometimes makes, sometimes misses, I feel like the Vikings will have a very solid chance of at least not losing by 6. So I'm going to stick with the Vikings at plus 6 here. Next up is Chargers versus Eagles. The line is minus 1.5 for the Chargers. The Eagles just beat the piss out of the Lions. I watched the damn game. I'm not impressed by that. The Lions suck. I don't think Jalen Hurts is really that great. Do I think he's bad? No, but I think Justin Herbert's way better. I think Justin Herbert has way better options, way better offensive weapons. Plus, you have a Bosa brother on defense. 1.5, are you kidding me that this is the actual line? I had to look it up in 2 different books, but 1.5 is the actual line. Chargers minus 1.5, book it. Next up is another just awe-inspiringly confusing line, which is Packers versus Chiefs. They have the Packers sitting at plus 7.5. I don't know why. The Chiefs had a slugfest with the Giants. They had a slugfest. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. Oh, is Adams going to be out? It doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers is going to sling the ball on this absolutely porous defense for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes did look more like Patrick Mahomes last week, but again, That was against a dog shit team. Plus, I honestly don't want to bet on Chiefs -7.5. Like, that's a wild line to give a team that's playing its worst football in 3 years. Also, I just don't want to bet on Jackson Mahomes' brother. Next up, Cardinals versus 49ers. And this is another wild line to me. I don't get this line. It's straight up there's no line. It's 0-0 on either side. So I'm taking the Cardinals. Obviously, their losses to Aaron Rodgers, who for some reason on this list is sitting at +7.5 in his game this week. I don't get it. I'm taking the Cardinals. Money line. Easy. Book it. Please get your bets in now before the fucking line changes. I already did on these two games because the line will shift rapidly when it approaches the weekend. I feel like everyone's going to start pushing on those picks and it's going to change and you're not going to get as good odds. Right now you can get Packers money line for like +240. Like, that's a great deal. Next up, we have Rams versus Titans. Unfortunately, Derrick Henry got injured, which sucks because I was kind of looking forward to this game. I feel like this would have been a really, really fun game to watch with Derrick Henry in because it would have been him versus Aaron Donald. If he got past Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, I mean, I'm excited. I would have been excited for that, but now it's can Ryan Tannehill run a game well and beat one of the better teams in the NFL, which I don't think he can do without Derrick Henry. So the line is 7.5. I'm taking the Rams -7.5. Wish we could have seen Derrick Henry in this game. Hopefully he'll be back for the playoffs, and hopefully the Titans are in the playoffs. Finally, we have our Monday night game, which is Bears versus Steelers. I hate this game. I hate this game for so many reasons, but I just hate this game. The line is 6.5. Bears underdog. I wrote here Bears +6.5, but I'm thinking about it, and I don't think Justin Fields can do well against this good of a defense. I think I hate switching my picks because it always goes wrong when I do, but I think I'm going to switch it over to Steelers -6.5 because they got Deontay Johnson back. Run game looks good. Ben Roethlisberger can just not suck. Their defense is solid. Yeah, I'm going to go with Steelers -6.5, although that's one more pick I absolutely hate. So, in conclusion, the last three picks, Rams -7.5, I love. Cardinals money line, I love. Packers +7.5, absolutely love that. And Chargers -1.5, love that. I feel like those are all pretty much easy locks. That's what I would take out of this list, but I'm fairly confident in everything else aside from my Saints pick and this Bears pick. In the Jaguars pick, because you can never be confident in picking the Jaguars. Hope this was helpful. If it was, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just trying to start something new. I appreciate both of my subscribers right now and anybody who's viewing my content. So I hope you have a great day. Hope your bets hit.